welcome to episode 57 of Book Writing Tips, quick tips for new and seasoned authors, and I am your host, Alba Arango. In today's episode, I want to talk about different ways to market your book. Now, just so we are clear, this is not an exhaustive list at all. I'm only going to give you just a few different ideas of how you can market your book, even if you don't have a book out yet that is published. So if you are writing your book, if you're finishing up your book, if you're waiting for that publisher to publish your book, there are some things you may want to consider doing now to start marketing your book before it comes out. And of course, all of those things are also good for authors that are already published. So with no further ado, let's get down to it. What are some ways you can market your book? Alrighty then, today's episode will be in two parts as always. In part one, I want to focus on things that everyone can do. So whether you're just starting to write your book, you're in the middle of writing your book, you're close to finishing your book, or you've already published 12 books, basically these will be strategies that everyone can use. And then in part two, I am going to focus a little bit more on if you've already published a book. But even if you haven't, these are things to keep in mind. So as you are literally getting close to launch day, some of these things can already be implemented, and some of them you should do like literally as soon as your book is published. So let's get down to it. Part one, what are some marketing strategies that everyone can use? So I'm going to start with the first one that I have mentioned like time and time again, something I think it is so important for every single author and potential author, and that is to get your author website. Now, if you have already got a website and being an author is only a part of the things that you do, well, then you're already on track. You've already got your website and you'll just be adding the author part of it to your existing website. But if you don't have a website, or if your website is for something completely different and you want to establish a website that is just for your author, I would do that ASAP. Look for the domain name that you want. Hopefully your name is available, but it doesn't have to be your name. It can be whatever you want it to be. If you want it to be the series for your book or whatever you want. And of course, you can have multiple. You can buy the domain name for your name, your pen name, your series name, and then have them all funnel to one. But whatever the case may be, you should have a website. Now, if you haven't published a book yet, why on earth do you feel like, why do I need a website? I don't have a book yet. But the idea is you want everything in place. So as soon as your book is published, your website is already there and already gaining traction. So what you have on your website, if you don't have a book yet, is you're going to have, of course, a little bio information about you, but it should also have things that you update regularly. FYI, if you already have a website, you should be updating it regularly. The more you update it regularly, like even if it's just a couple times a month, the more the algorithm knows that, hey, this is an active website. And that way, when people do searches, they're going to be able to find your website quicker. So you want your website, you can literally just update it with a little update on how your work is coming, or you can put a little snippet about, an event that you attended. But you can always put things that are writing related on there, maybe a good book you read, or a book about writing that you read, or something you learned, or something that happened to you. Something that just keeps your website updated so that the algorithm knows it is an active website. Now, in addition to a website, the next thing I want to do, again, is good for everyone, and that is to build a relationship with readers. Now, there are a couple of ways I'm going to suggest building a relationship with readers. You want a relationship with your readers so that the better relationship you have with readers, the more likely they are to word of mouth, spread it to friends, put it on their website, put it on their social media. So you want to kind of get these, relationships going long before your book is even published. Now, don't flip out if you've already got a book published and you're like, but I don't know what to do. I already have my book published. Of course, you can always start reader relationships now. So a couple different ways to do that. First one is probably the most obvious, and that is social media. However, there's a few things about social media. Let me just give you a little heads up on. Stop talking like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky. Pick 2 or 3, or you can do all of them if you want, however you want to, whatever you are comfortable with. But I always think of social media as kind of like a party, like a social event. Like when you go to a social event, if someone is only talking about this book and nothing else but this book, you, as an attendee to this social event, will probably get bored with them because all they're talking about is that one book that they're talking about, that they're writing or that they published. So it doesn't mean that you need to stray from being an author if you're setting up an author, page. But it does mean talk about more than your book. So talk about events that you've done, talk about, events that you've gone to, talk about, I went to this signing, I went to this book festival, I went to this, I'm having trouble with, writer's block, I'm having this, I just read this great book. But talk about things other than just your book. That will keep people's interest and keep them coming back to your pages, which is what you want. And of course, if someone comments, then please respond to their comment, engage with them, because engagement is what spurs the algorithm. So you want to engage as much as you can with them. And that's what helps build reader relationships. You want relationships with your readers so that they will then talk about you on their social media pages. Now, in addition to that, another way to build reading relationships is to join online communities that are about the genre you are writing in, but you'll be joining them as a reader. So Reddit has a ton of reading communities. Facebook has a bunch of reading communities. Goodreads has a bunch of reading communities, but join them as a reader. So if you're writing cozy mysteries, then it would stand to reason you most likely read cozy mysteries, and you would have a lot to contribute to these communities. And the more you actively engage and contribute to these communities, you'll start to build relationships and see people over and over again in the same, having discussions about that genre, which is what you want. That way, months down the road, you haven't published your book yet. Now months have gone by and you've just, made yourself, your presence known in these communities. When you are going to get your book published, when you mention it on that community, you now have a group of like-minded people who love that genre who are going to want to support you because they see you actively engaged. They like having you on there. So that is one of the things that is going to help you build a reader community. And that's what you want. You want a reader relationship with a bunch of people who are going to potentially buy your books. Now, of course, this does work as well if you've already published books, but you would be joining these communities as a reader, not as an author, because nobody on there, and you actually could get like community violations if all you're doing is going on there and promoting your book. You are there as a reader because first and foremost, you are a reader and you should be participating in these communities as readers. Now, if you don't write fiction and you're writing nonfiction, you're like, well, that doesn't exactly apply to me. I'm writing, a book about, as a parent, things of, dealing with, say, a child with Down syndrome. And I'm experienced this and I want to be helpful. But there are communities about parents with Down syndrome children that you can join and, give information on and share your experience with and be there kind of like a support group so that when you do, come out with your book, you've got a group of parents that already, they've seen you, your engagement, and they're probably going to want to buy your book to support you. So this is how you can build these reader relationships in different ways. All right, one last thing before I get to part 2, and that is having an author newsletter. And I know I've talked about this before, but you don't understand how important it is to have an author newsletter. It's the way you communicate when you're going to have a book out and how you keep your readers, your fellow authors, your family, friends, and everyone apprised of what is going on, because not everyone does social media. So not everyone's going to be following you or even see your posts on social media, but a newsletter is going to come in their mailbox. They're going to be expecting it and they're going to open it and they're going to see what you have to say. Now, if you're just starting your author newsletter and you're like, yeah, but I don't know anyone, I don't have a book out yet, don't freak out on me, okay? Let's start small. Family, friends, coworkers, ask them all to sign up for your newsletter and to engage with it. Open it every time it comes out. Once a month, twice a month. I wouldn't go probably more than 2 or 3 times a month, especially since you don't have much to say. I'm going to talk about what to say in a minute. And then after you have family, friends, and all of that, go to author events. All right. Go to author events like writers' conferences, like classes, like book signings. Go to these events where there are other authors there and exchange your email addresses. Sign up for each other's emails. So they sign up for yours, you sign up for theirs. It's a great way for authors to support each other. And trust me, if you go to a writers' conference and there are, 150 potential authors in there and all of them have newsletters, that's 150 people you could get to sign up for your newsletter and you sign up for them. And FYI, don't be one of those people that signs up for their email and then drops it a week later. That is just going to really badmouth you around the writing community. So just sign up for them because, we're part of a community. You want to support each other in this. So that is definitely one thing to do. And definitely, of course, you want to have a link to your email on your website, on your social media pages. Now, what are you going to put in this email? And you don't have a book, right? Just kind of like your website, you'll have, things that relate to writing. You can write about, how much progress you've made or some struggles you've had or events you went to. I went to this class, I went to this, I read this book, just write about things that are related to the book, that are related to you as an author, are related to you as a reader. And that way people will get used to seeing the emails about you and learn about you through your email. So when you do have a book coming out, they're already on board. All right. Before we get to part 2, it's time for the crazy law / writing prompt. And if you are new to the podcast, every week I give you a crazy law. And this was a law that once upon a time in history was a real law. And your challenge, should you choose to accept it, is to write a short story based on that law. And this is just a way to kind of, flex your writing muscles and get you, away from your work in progress for a little bit and kind of challenge your mind. So here we go. This week's crazy law. In Idaho, state law makes it illegal for a man to give his sweetheart a box of candy weighing less than 50 pounds. Oh my gosh. If this is still a law, I may have to relocate because I would be overjoyed to get a box of candy weighing 50 pounds. I would also probably gain 50 pounds, but that's a whole different story. Hey, maybe I could write my short story about that. Anyways, all right, let's get on to part 2. Now, again, some of this is going to be unique to if you already have your book published, but good things to keep in mind if you are planning on publishing a book. So here we go. Number 1 on there actually has to do with newsletters. So if you already have a newsletter and you've got a book coming out, you've already got a book out, a great idea for this is to do what we call a newsletter swap. And what that means has nothing to do with swapping your email addresses. You do not want to do that. People would be very angry if you gave their email to other authors. What a newsletter swap means is that you both agree, let's say it's you and another author or you and 2 other authors, you guys agree to mention the other author and their book in your email. Now, the great thing about that is, let's say you have 100 people on your email and they have 100 people on their email. Well, now your name and link to your book is going to be in the eyes of 100 people you don't even know. Now, these are great things to do at things like writers' conferences or classes that you attend or something like that. It's like, hey, do you have a newsletter? Let's do a newsletter swap. And that way you are, mentioning someone else supporting the community in your email, and that other author is supporting you by putting you and your link in their email. And this is a great thing to do. It works best if you have another author that's in the same genre as you, but it doesn't have to be. Your readers probably read more than just your genre, but it does tend to work best if it's the same genre as you. So that's my first suggestion. Next suggestion is, of course, to go to as many events as you can. And there are all kinds of different events. I'm just going to give you a few examples here. Do some signings. If you already have a book out, you can do some signings. Book festivals / fairs are probably the place I personally make the most money, but they also cost money. The one here in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Book Festival, it is literally $200 for the table. Now, I personally always make my money back and then some, but not all authors do, depending on how specific your niche is. You may want to split a table with someone or kind of avoid anything that's costly if, you're trying to budget your money. But But there are a lot of places where you can do signings that cost no money at all. A lot of coffee shops around in Las Vegas are overjoyed to host authors for book signings. If you're going to do Barnes & Noble, they do not charge. As far as I know, none of the Barnes & Noble charge. However, your books do have to be available for them to purchase through Ingram, which if you're traditionally published, most likely your traditional publisher does have their books available on Ingram. But if you are self-publishing and you have not gone through Ingram, unless it's a local Barnes & Noble that knows you or you've talked to them and they're willing to buy the books through you, most Barnes & Nobles that you are not familiar with will not do it because they want to buy your books through Ingram and have them available already by the time you get there for the signing. So Barnes & Noble can be a little tricky, but most independent bookstores are more than happy to have. They usually do like consignment, like they get 20% or something like that of your book sales. And that's great. It's still exposure. They are going to advertise because they want people to come in and that's going to help you. So any signing you can do, even a coffee shop is great exposure for you. Just make sure you have something to put in people's hands, be it a business card or a bookmark or something, so that when they leave that coffee shop, if they want to look you up, they can, and they will have the business card to do that. There's also interviews you can do. You can do podcast interviews. Now, obviously not mine because I don't do interviews, but look for podcasts that do author interviews. Niche specific is even better, but a lot of podcasts just do interviews with all different kinds of genres. So look for podcasts. They are always looking for authors. You just would, DM them or, send them a message, an email, whatever it is, however they want to be contacted and let them know. Same thing with blogs. A lot of bloggers are looking for content and they are happy to do an interview with you. Your local newspaper, and if you have like a neighborhood meet, that's a great place, to kind of send them a little, if it's a weekly, neighborhood newsletter, they're always looking for content, have them do a little story about you. Of course, if you have a local newspaper, that's even better, but they can be hard to get into. Not all of them, but ours is really hard to get into. But also think of outside the box. Think of like, if you are an alumni of a college, they have an alumni newsletter. And, write to them and say, hey, I just published a book or I've got a book out. Would you do a little segment on me? These are all places that you can actually have that will help you market and get exposure for your book. All right, I got two more things because I'm running low on time. The first one of the two is Goodreads. Now, I already talked about kind of joining reading communities as Goodreads. However, as an author, you need to, as soon as you get your book published, go into Goodreads and claim your author profile on Goodreads and claim all your books so that they are there on your author page. And that way, when you do engage in communities, if someone, you're having this conversation about this great book that you guys have both read and, you didn't say anything about being an author, but if they click on your name, it's going to take them to your author profile. And then they're going to see, oh my gosh, she's an author. She's got this book. And this is, again, building those reader relationships is going to help you in Goodreads, but just make sure you claim your profile. Do make sure you are engaging and that you are reviewing books on Goodreads. It is a reading community. They want to see that you as an author are also a reader. So you are reviewing books, you are engaging in them, and that is going to help build your Goodreads community. And FYI, Goodreads is the #1 largest reading community. And Amazon now owns them. And you'll see a lot of times when you buy your books on Amazon that they've got the Amazon rating and the Goodreads rating on there. So you want to have, a lot of positive relationships on Goodreads to give you the best ratings possible because you're hoping that these people have bought your books, they're going to read them, they're going to enjoy it, they're going to write you a review. Oh, and FYI, the more followers you can get on Goodreads is fantastic because the followers will receive notification when you publish a new book. And this isn't because you asked Goodreads to do that. They do it automatically. So let's say you had this conversation with someone about this book, and you guys, we established this great relationship and they checked out, you have an author page, so they followed you, but that was like 7 months ago and you haven't heard from them since. They've been, busy or whatever. And then you publish your new book. They are going to get a notification from Goodreads that you have published a book. How fantastic is that? So this person that you haven't even spoken to on Goodreads in 7 months is going to get notified about your book and they're going to be like, oh, wow, she's got a book out. That's great. So this is just the things that you do. And one last thing about they do have Goodreads giveaways. They used to be free back in the day and it was amazing, but now they do cost money, but that is good exposure if you want people to just kind of know about it, but it does cost. So just be kind of aware of the cost factor involved in a Goodreads giveaway. All right. And last but not least, I got to talk about the big A. the Zon, Amazon. All right. Once you have published a book, and this you cannot do until you have a book published, go to Amazon Author Central and set up your author page on Amazon. That way you can put whatever kind of bio you want. You can upload the picture that you want. You can have whatever you want on your author page that is going to you're marketing yourself on Amazon. So if someone clicks on your name to see what you're all about, it's going to take them to your Amazon author page, and everything you want to be on there will be on there. And that is only going to help you to get a follower on Amazon. Amazon followers, same like Goodreads, they will be notified when you publish a new book. So the more followers you can get on Amazon, the better. Now, in addition to that, I would advise becoming an Amazon affiliate as well. That way you can have your link, because you're going to link to your book, right? On your website, on your social media. If you get the Amazon affiliate link, then if someone clicks on that link to go to your book, and then while they're there, they also buy, and this happened to me, I think it was last week, someone bought basketball cards. I don't even know what basketball cards are, but they bought them after they clicked on my Amazon affiliate link, and then they bought those cards. So I got a small commission from it, but still it's like 20 cents that I would never have made, and it adds up after a while. So get that Amazon affiliate as soon as you become an author. So Amazon Author Central, Amazon affiliate. And now here's something that costs nothing and really can help you in the Amazon, because Amazon has just this plethora of books, and you are swimming in a sea of books when you put your book out there. And that is the keywords. Keywords are so crucial in Amazon to help direct people who are doing for a search in Amazon. Now, I was on, I think it was Reddit, and gosh, I wish I could remember where the site was that I found this, but this author on Reddit had posted a really great suggestion for Amazon keywords. And they said to make your keywords long. I think you get, 7 keywords? And they gave this example. And again, credit to whoever it was. I don't remember who it was. They said for one of the keywords, they had Ivy League, secret society, dark academia. One keyword. So, and Amazon takes each of these and actually has them as part of their algorithm. So if someone's searching for Ivy League or secret society or dark academia, that's going to pop up. And that was all one keyword. That is how you maximize your keywords on Amazon to get the best exposure for you as possible. Just keep track of, there is a character limit on that. All right, Amazon ads, that is one thing that's going to be on you if you aren't willing to spend the money. I have known several authors that say they make the most sales on Amazon when they do Amazon ads. It costs them, but the ROI is really good. Now, you have to do a lot of research on how to make a really good Amazon ad, so I'm wishing you luck on that. I don't have time to go into that now. And of course, if you are enrolled in KDP, don't forget that every 3 months they renew it, and they give you, again, the option to do either free or discount promotion. Take advantage of that. The Amazon countdown. Take advantage of all of that if you are enrolled in KDP. I know that was a lot. Like I said, not even exhaustive. I only gave you like a few of like hundreds probably of different marketing ideas, but I hope they help. And I hope that once you start publishing your books, that you are out there actively promoting your books, because this is not a one shot where you just publish it and then, you go on your merry way and things just fall into place. You got to work for it. Marketing is, the bane of every author's existence. So I wish you luck. I hope some of these have helped you. If you like this episode, please, please, please give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe. I drop a new episode every single Wednesday. So until next week, stay safe, and I will see you all next week.